Good morning, everybody. Thank you again for coming out. It seems a little bit of a cold is trying to work its way with me, so I'm going to try to work my way with it enough that I can contribute something. So today from Master Dogen, from the Bodhisattva's Four Methods of Guidance. Identity action. Identity action means non-difference. It is non-difference from self, non-difference from others. For example, in the human world, the Tathagata took the form of a human being. From this, we know that he did the same in other realms. Zenko, would you push that for us? From this, we know that he did the same in other realms. When we know identity action, others and self are one. Lute, song, and wine are one with human being, deva, and spirit being. Human being is one with lute, song, and wine. Lute, song, and wine are one with lute, song, and wine. Human being is one with human being. Deva is one with deva. Spirit being is one with spirit being. To understand this is to understand identity action. It goes on, but that's kind of a nice chunk. So I like the line about the lute and the wine. Identity action. You know, we trip and stumble with words that hopefully help point us in the direction of something, that hopefully serve to liberate and free us rather than actually feed that addiction we have to ensnaring ourselves with our own constructs. And so this identity action, it's a funny word, but it's trying to be one word. It's identity action. It's not trying to be a modifier of another or something like that. It's saying identity action. The action of identity. And what's very interesting about this is Dogen does his typical sort of cubist thing. Non-difference. It is non-difference from self, non-difference from other. We may not realize it, but most of us spend a good deal of our time being quite different from ourselves. We spend our time kind of at war with ourselves, cajoling, managing, admonishing, supporting up, belittling, berating, praising, heaping glories upon ourselves, all the way, all the time, outside of ourselves. When it comes time for Zazen, it's time to just sit. It's boring. It's not that sexy. It's not that interesting. It's just thusness. Right? Just this. Practicing non-difference with yourself. That's the start. Can you really sit there and be yourself? You know, it's a crazy thing. I mean, it makes a great bumper sticker, be yourself. Yeah. That usually translates into no one can tell me anything. Screw you, that's what that means. Right? So, what does it mean to really be yourself? Like in the real kind of adult-ish world, you know? Like, I guess being over 40, I'm an adult now, but just barely. So, but what is it to really identify with the self, to really be the self? You know, we make a head trip out of it. Oh, you know, I've got to find the theorem, you know, or we make some kind of an exercise routine out of it. Really, just the masters ask us to settle down and practice. Actually do this. It's not something we just think about or acquiesce to intellectually or something. You actually practice this. Like you practice being loving. You practice patience. You practice beingness. Which is crazy, right? Because you are beingness. Why would you have to practice that? That's insane. But it's not. Because we have this habituated tendency to just sort of be anything but being. Even though the whole while we're doing that, we're being just fine. And yet. And then Dogen gives us the other half, at least. We start with non-difference from self, and we move to non-difference from others. Practicing identity with others. Now that, to some people, seems creepy. You know, because it's like, I spent a lot of time defining who I am and how I am and what I think is cool and what identifies me. I like this music. I like these people. I read these books. I have this job, whatever. What is it to be identified with someone who completely blows your gaskets? Who doesn't care at all that you're a practicing Buddhist? Who simply takes the work that you've poured yourself into for the past 40 hours and says, this is awful, start over. How can you possibly present that to me? Get out. What is it like to present thusness in such a time as that? When we know identity action, others and self are one. In other words, if you really throw yourself into the sitting, if you really trust yourself enough to let go and to let be, then the difference between self and other vanishes. And you're still you, and I'm still me. Important point. How do we get both of those perspectives functioning and integrated? Lute, song, and wine are one with human being, deva, and spirit being. I love the myth and the poetry and the imagery. Don't be caught up in any kind of literal mythic interpretation, please. I'm not talking about spirit being, although I would say nothing bad about spirit beings, should they be there. But I can talk about lute and wine. So I'll stick to that. Human being is one with lute, song, and wine. What does it mean to really be one with lute? What is your lute? What does it mean to be one with it? And you know, people kind of, you know, can throw this magic veil over something as obvious as a musician. You know, like, oh, you know, we're a dancer or something. Oh, that's fine for them. They're up on stage and they can just disappear into this beautiful thing. Everybody claps for them. Nobody claps for me. What the hell? You know, but it's not just about this special experience, you know. You are the special experience. If you happen to play lute, that's fine. If you don't stress. But you must play your life, however that happens to show up, and really be one with it. So in that sense, lute's a good analogy, you know. If you're not really one with the instrument, then there's a resistance between the music and the musician. And it's a drag. I feel it a lot when I play it. But I also feel what it's like to become the music. You know? It's one of the things, it's one of the great gifts of Zen practice, is it's not just some belief system or philosophy, it's a practice. How do you take that experience of unity and oneness that can occur, that we've all had, and actually get that to function in cleaning that diaper? Or confronting that mortgage that you can't pay this month? Or that relationship, that parent, that boss. Now, truly, if your wonderful contemplative mysticism has nothing to say about getting the dishes done, it needs to be re-examined. And it's not about just getting the dishes done. Don't be fooled by that either. Lute, song, and wine are one with lute, song, and wine. What does it mean when you allow wine to be wine? What does it mean when you give the sky to the sky? What is it to give the great earth to the great earth? Let earth be earth. Let fire be fire. Give water to water. Also, give water to fire. Also, give fire to water. Give yourself to yourself. Give yourself to other. Give other to other. And forget about all this stuff and just sit. And when the bell rings, just stand. Human being is one with human being. Deva is one with Deva. Spirit being is one with spirit being. To understand this is to understand identity action. So I ask you, are you you? The world most certainly needs you. And this you that we speak of is not something you need to figure out. It's not something you need to do a workshop to discern. Although some workshops are cool. But this deeper you, this truer you, this real you, you were born with it. You've never been without it. Since beginningless time. Would only that we could realize it and give it life in our own day, in our own experience. And so today we began in a very practical way saying, I have screwed up. That's a beautiful thing to say when you get together with people. Let's just get that out of the way. All evil karma ever committed by me, and yo, there is some. Right? Ever committed by me, whether I know it or not. All the various bruisings that have been inflicted by my ineptitude and my brilliance, thank you. Now I atone for it all. That too is identity action. And then when we say taking refuge in Buddha, it means identity with Buddha, identity with Dharma, self as Dharma, Dharma as self. You who are preparing for Jukai should consider this deeply. Refuge in Buddha means refuge in reality, as it actually is. What does it mean to be able to sit down in the middle of that furnace and be? It still stays a furnace, sorry. But it's different. We say being one with the Buddha, being one with the Dharma, being one with the Sangha. Being one with the Sangha, being one with the community, it means being in identity with them. It means seeing the other as the self, and the self as the other, and the self as the self. And the kids as us, and us as the kids, and the kids as kids. And oh my God, I think they're going to be here soon. Thank you, everybody.